going to be referring to it a lot. I know lots of you have done it in Year 10 Media, but that doesn't mean, well, you remember absolutely everything. And for those of you who are joining us in VCE, this is a good little introduction for you. So the aim of today's little video is to really build your confidence in being able to write on media products, because it is possible if you just follow this step-by-step process. So we want to be able to annotate and then write sentences. Now, we have to remember this. We did this during orientation. Remember, we watched that animation in a heartbeat and we did some tables like this. This is name, describe, link. So try and remember back to that. See how this table at the top steps us through everything we need to do, and then it gives us this nice sentence at the end. So here's a really good example of a name, describe, link sentence that we're going to aim towards writing today. In the opening of In a Heartbeat, the sound of fast-paced, non-diegetic soundtrack creates frantic emotions to communicate the idea that the protagonist is in a rush, worried, and panicked. So we can write name, describe, link sentences on anything: film, TV, radio, print, magazines, absolutely anything. And it applies to all these particular media products, and it's something we're going to be focusing on Year 11 and 12 media. So let's start off with the basics. Name, describe, link. It's a 3-step process, and we can go with a really simple version or a really complicated version. I'm going to tell you everything today, and you can pick and choose what's relevant for you. Firstly, when we start with naming something, we need to name the code. That's just literally what you can see. It could be the lighting, the acting, what you hear, the sound. Then you need to describe it. So we want to use as many fancy-pantsy media words as possible, so that's called media language. And if you don't know those, that code booklet I gave you is full of them. So let's say we're doing lighting, we could say it's high-key lighting, low-key lighting. We then want to use an adjective, an edgy adjective, something to spice it up. So if it was low-key lighting, it could be scary or gloomy or concerning. Then this is the important part. This is where we need to inference. We need to actually think about, well, why has that all been put on the screen or on a piece of paper? What's the impact on the audience? Is it going to make them happy, sad, scared, intrigued? And then why has the director done this? What sort of communication of ideas is being explored? So that's name, describe, and link. Here's an example. So I've got a poster. It's one of the posters that probably one of you has today for our activity. And the first thing I want to do is just almost scan it from top to bottom. I often say put your finger on it because it's easy to miss things when you're just glancing at it. And list everything you can see. So annotate absolutely everything. So I'm going to just focus on some of the things here. We've got clouds. I'm looking at the lighting on his face. There's a castle in the background. Looking at the acting of the woman and her costume. Could I focus and find 20 other things on this poster? Absolutely, but we're just going to focus on these things. So that's step 1, name the code or identify the code. Now, we want to start to describe the code, and we want to do this with media terminology. So the first one I've got here, black clouds, refers to mise-en-scène. So I want to start looking at what colour they are. Lighting, I want to start deciding, is it low-key, high-key? Mise-en-scène, again, we've got the castle within the background. When looking at acting, I can look at facial expressions, voice or body language, and the body language here is really important. And her costuming, we can look at the colour. You'll notice with prints, you'll always want to refer to lighting and mise-en-scène, definitely not sound or editing, but those are your go-to codes, and that's completely fine. Now we do the next step where you can get a little bit more creative, and you want to start putting adjectives on top of these to make them sound better. So we've got gloomy black clouds, eerie low-key lighting. Notice it doesn't always have to go in front, it can go in the middle as well. The background of a suspicious castle. And I can make my sentence a bit more complicated if I want to and say something like the acting of weak body language or white innocent costume. So if this is a bit much for you, just stick with the first 2 options where you put the adjective in front. If you're a little bit more confident with words, then you can start playing around with it and making it sound how you like. So that's describing the code. Pretend I haven't seen the poster and you're telling me what it looks like. Now we want to start putting our jazzy verbs in because we're going to start linking to an idea. So you probably have heard about these in English. We've got lots and lots of different ones. Here's a list that you can steal. I love ones like evokes, communicates, conveys. You want to have at least 5 or 6 up your sleeve so you're not always using the same one. So chuck some jazzy verbs in there, like I've done here. So now we've got gloomy black clouds suggests, and we're going to go to link. So our first link is linking to the director's intention. There's lots of different things. Why has the director done this? Is it to tell us about a convention, so a symbol? Is it to tell us about a character? Is it to tell us about the narrative, so what story is going on? Is it to tell us about an idea, a theme, or maybe a genre? Why has the director included that? Sometimes if you're like, I don't know, it's just there, you can make it up, fluff it up a little bit. As long as it's not a crazy idea that no one would ever agree with, that's completely fine. So linking to the director's intention, you can also then link to the audience. And this is going to sound very much like English. What is it positioning us to think and feel? So is it positioning us to think about an idea, a theme, a character, genre, structuring of time, or is it making us, the audience, feel an emotion, anger, fear, sympathy, joy, calm? Your choice. So here I've linked to an idea. Gloomy black clouds suggest that something evil is coming. And I've just kept it simple like that. If I go down to my other example of the acting, notice I've put director and audience. That's probably at the expected level where you're doing 2 links rather than at that entry level where you're just doing 1. So the acting of a weak body language builds sympathy from the audience as the woman is clearly exposed and stressed. So I've done 2 links there. This gives us our finished name describe link sentences. So I just take it away from all this awkward, messy annotation and put them in nice sentences. I have the gloomy black clouds suggest something evil is coming. The eerie low-key lighting conveys the idea that the character has something to hide. And then a bit more of an accelerated or expected sort of answer would be the woman's acting of weak body language builds sympathy from the audience as she is clearly weak and exposed. And a good habit we always want to get ourselves into is going back and checking our name, describe, link sentences. It's often really easy to forget a describe or forget a link, and I do that by ticking or color coding my particular sentences. So that is name, describe, link, and it's a structure that helps us analyze, and it's something that we really want to build our confidence with, and that's the aim of today. I want you to build as many name, describe, link sentences and maybe move on to paragraphs as you can in relation to these posters and how they represent gender.